Salutations everyone, and welcome to What Mattered, the show where I tell you what mattered in the news this week. What mattered now being broadcasted to more people that can fit in Street Fighter V's matchmaking. The Division Open Beta is now open and free to anyone on Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 and PC. And with this open beta comes some additional content. Look at the differences between the open and the closed beta. We have a new story mission that is available to us to open up the tech wing. Therefore, we get more upgrades there to kind of see what is going to be, in our future for the full release of the game. I have noticed a few more glitches than I did see in the closed beta, but I've also seen more weapons. You get weapon mods much faster, and it's basically just as overall, I think, even though the changes that they made were, they weren't big, the fact that they made changes and the kind of changes that they make really shows forward thinking in what the Division is going to have in store for us as an open world third-person shooter. So definitely check it out for yourself. That open beta will be ending in just a few days, but hopefully it's going to give you enough to get a nice little tasty taste. They also upped up the rank on the Dark Zone that you can be, and that's just as sketchy a place as ever. So it might be one of those off-with games where it's only fun with friends because of the Dark Zone area. You might not be able to get all the best stuff in the world if you're a solo player like myself, but for the most part, the game does show a lot more promise with the additional things that they've added within the game, and it's still really fun, even though with going through the beta, there's only a few things that you can do, so it does get kind of repetitive, but there's enough in it to show us this game could be pretty good. Fire Emblem Fates is finally out, the next Fire Emblem game many people have been waiting for, the first one since Awakening on the 3DS. And with Fire Emblem Fates, whether you're interested in this game or you're a hardcore fan, I think there's definitely a lot for everybody. There are two different versions. This isn't like Pokemon where there's just a couple of exclusive little characters or changes. They are definitely different games. Birthright is an easier game, so it's more for your casual players, it's more for your new players. And Conquest is the more difficult game. It also has, according to reviews, more interesting story. And then once you beat those, Revelation, which will come out as a DLC third version on March 10th, will give you the third path of the story. One you choose one family and another choose your other family. In this third version, Revelation, you don't choose either family. So the reviews have been very, very good for the game. I myself am going to be getting Birthright. There are many different romantic interests that are the same throughout both games, but there's also, some people you're going to have to fight in one game that you'll be allied in the other game, since you are choosing either your adoptive family or your birth family. So the story has been getting good reviews. The gameplay, a lot of people really like. And it's got something for everybody. So you don't have to have played any other Fire Emblem game. The stories are always completely different, another time period, another time dimension sometimes. And it's not something that should scare away players that might have been interested in this game before, or just like to use their Fire Emblem amiibos, which are the hardest ones to get. These do have amiibo functionality, and that if you put in like Martha, Lucina, boom, they pop up in your game and you get to talk to them and they give you presents and stuff. And who doesn't want more presents in Fire Emblem? So yeah, get your Waifu Simulator 2016 now, because it's doing pretty good. Disney has announced LEGO Star Wars The Freemaker Adventures coming out on Disney XD. It's going to be a LEGO Star Wars television show placed in between Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So that's interesting. We don't know if this is going to be considered canon, but it takes place within that time frame, and it's about a family of people working on spaceships and kind of stuff like that, and then one of them finds something that's called a Kyber saber, which is an ancient artifact, which is of course a lightsaber, and that kicks off a bunch of stuff. So we don't know what to expect from this, but it is Star Wars, it's LEGO Star Wars, and it takes place in the original trilogy timeline. So of course we'll have a different tone than some of the other canonical Star Wars storylines that we know and love, but it could be interesting. Once again, we don't know if it's going to be canonical or not, but Lego Star Wars is always a fun time, so I mean, maybe if the Lego humor translates well into a television show, it could be rather fun, but just on the bonus side has Star Wars aspects to it. Mass Effect Andromeda is in the headlines once again because another departure from the Canadian team has made waves in the news. Mr. Chris Slurf, the head writer of Mass Effect Andromeda, has now left the Canadian team up in Bioware to move on to Bungie to work on Destiny. We all know Destiny definitely needs any sense of story, especially with Destiny 2 coming out sometime next year, supposedly, according to them. He previously worked with 343 Industries on Halo 4, so right off the bat you see some people saying that he's returning to, his old developer. No, he's not. He worked on 343, now he's going to Bungie after working at Bioware. So, some of these news sources are not to be trusted when they get simple things like that wrong. But this fear-mongering, clickbaity title stuff is nothing new. And when it comes to Mass Effect Andromeda, we've heard of a lot of big departures over the last few months. So there's like, what's wrong with BioWare? Hands in the air, everything's on fire. Not so, for many reasons. First of all, a lot of people don't seem to know how video game development works. He was the lead writer, and since this game is coming out in 10 months, you would think the storyline kind of already has to be laid out there. So either most of his work was done, or all of his work was done. We don't know. BioWare's not going to tell us. He's not going to tell us. But clearly, when it comes to departures through video game developers, this is not a rare thing to happen where somebody leaves before their game that they worked on is being launched. This is just kind of a coincidence that so many different people from BioWare have, made connections, which I think is kind of a good sign because they're clearly in demand because their work is so good. And with someone like Bungie having all this money, would definitely want to throw it at somebody because, we need a story, we don't know what we're doing. So it'd be pretty easy if you're someone working at BioWare and be like, damn, look at all this money, I could move back to the United States. Yeah, sure, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So these departures are not, new in the fact that they happen before their game comes out. Another thing is that people finish their work at different stages. Your QA department isn't going to finish the same as, your tech team or the people that work on the multiplayer or the writing or, this work writing on this mission or, character development or any of these other things. People finish at different times when it comes to these big AAA titles that take a lot of people to make. And especially when it comes to writing, that's kind of one of the first things that you finish. And another thing that people might not seem to recognize is that he probably hasn't been working with BioWare for a while, because when you name a departure from your current studio to a new studio, that doesn't happen until you've already hooked up your new studio to work with. So clearly he hasn't been working with BioWare for a while. He probably left a bit ago, but they don't make these announcements until they've already gotten a new job. So he probably hasn't been working with the team for many moons now, whether his work was finished or he just decided to leave without everything done. And you might say, lead writer, that seems important. Well, I mean, they might have the, archetypal structure of the full story, but have like some lead input into one or two specific things. So that might be done, or they'll just give someone else to oversee those steps. So it's not a huge deal. Mass Effect Andromeda is not in trouble, and everyone that we've seen leave BioWare have been on good terms and said that they cannot wait. We know that Chris Wynn, moving over to H1Z1, says he's now just going to be like any other fan and can't wait for the release of the game. And now Schlurf says that it's going to be amazing and just blow people away. So I myself, not worried about BioWare. I know those people up there are working good. They're going at it. They're getting into the grind season, and they really, really care about this series and this particular new game set outside of the Shepard trilogy. And they're working hard, and they've done great stuff, and they'll continue to do good things. Clearly, a lot of their workers are in high demand because their work is so damn good. So yeah, there's no need to worry about Mass Effect Andromeda, whether this has anything to do with its release date or not. It's fine. No more fear-mongering needed. Everything's okay. If something else happens in the future, then maybe you'd be like, oh, well, but no. Everything's fine. Trust me. Nickelodeon may have dumped Avatar in just the worst way possible, but that doesn't mean we're not getting new Avatar stuff. Avatar The Last Airbender is getting new graphic novelizations starting in September, and then a second in November, and then the third in April, with Aang, Katara, and Sokka in the game going to the Water Tribe to check out this mysterious woman who's taken charge. So that's very cool. We haven't seen any new Avatar The Last Airbender stuff since that 3-part graphic novel series that Dark Horse had a couple of years ago. We also heard last year that there's going to be some more Korra graphic novelization comic stuff focusing on a certain relationship. And no word or news on that yet, but we do know that Dark Horse is still at work on it. So more Avatar stuff, the better. If only like Netflix or somebody cool could like buy up and just make new, that'd be cool. I mean, Nickelodeon, you fucked up. Let somebody else handle it if they want to make more. I'm not gonna say that they need to. I mean, that's up to them. They're the masters of disaster and just really cool shit. So Street Fighter V came out as a $6 retail release price, and pretty much everyone's pretty pissed about it. The fact that they had to pay this kind of money for this kind of game that's missing a lot of core features that we've known from every Street Fighter game and pretty much every other fighting game. Like, there's no arcade mode, there's no customization of your characters. The online is just broken. You can only have 2 people in a lobby instead of 8 from the last game, and even that is only when it works, which seems to be very rare when the online matchmaking actually does work. So very, very disappointing. We do know that there is going to be upcoming patches to patch in some of this content that we're used to seeing that will be coming out in March, but to ask people to pay $60 for this kind of broken game is just kind of head scratchy. Why didn't you push it back? Like, why did you do this? I mean, this was a pretty short, relative to Street Fighter terms, this was a short window between 4 and 5 major releases, and we do know that Street Fighter V is going to the Capcom Pro Circuit starting just in like May, and that's insane to expect people to get used to a broken game in order to be competitive with it, especially since like PS3 fight sticks aren't always super compatible with the PlayStation 4, and there's just a lot of issues working on the online casual experience as well as the professional experience. So who knows, maybe Lupe Fiasco will come in and save the day. Anywho, new Blowfish, that is what mattered this week. If you'd like to know what matters in the future, you can hit the subscribe button. One of these videos comes out every single Saturday. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you next time.